Down to 1 minute. So then Julie can kind of just take over once this gets to 0. I'll find a good jam before next Saturday.
Do we all want to turn our cameras off then and then all come in at 0 so we can practice that?
Sure.
Yeah, this is when we need that music.
Yes. It's like when bands are about to go live, and it's all pitch black.
Yeah.
It's kind of anticlimactic without the music.
Hello, welcome. Good morning. Welcome to our webinar, Unleashing the Power of Slack to Build Team Engagement. We're really excited to talk about how you can use this wonderful tool and the different ways that you can, utilize it for your team. Go ahead and in the Zoom chat, let us know where you're joining us from. You'll probably notice that your camera and audio has been disabled for the duration of the webinar. So we do ask that you just keep yourself muted and the camera off. My name is Julie Ladmero. I am one of the presenters today, and I am going to turn it over to Tori.
Hello, my name's Tori. I'll talk about the agenda today. We're going to talk about why you should use Slack, what's so great about it. We'll have a Kahoot icebreaker. We'll do a demonstration and an explanation of Slackbot and the workflow. Then we'll do a demonstration of how the Slackbot and workflow work. Then we'll have a discussion of the Slackbot and the workflow and a summary, and then final question and answer.
Hey everyone, my name is Andy Barnes. So we're going to go over the learning objectives before we get started with our learning for today. So our first one, we have described the collaborative tool Slack and its features, Slackbot and workflow. We're also going to explain the importance of team engagement in a virtual environment, and we'll create custom workflow and Slackbot responses in Slack. So we'll be working a lot today with Slackbot and with workflow. I'll turn it over to Joe.
Hi, my name is Joe DiDiego, and we'll go ahead and get started with this webinar by asking you on a scale of 1 to 5, what is your comfort level with Slack? 5 being the best, that you're a professional Slacker, 1 being the worst, that you may not know what Slack is. Andy, I'm looking to you to enable the...
Yep. Oh my God, it logged me out of...
Don't you have a polls button down at the bottom that you would just click on the polls?
I do, and I had them set up and it logged me out.
All good. So I would do the test.
Yes.
And I guess the co-host can't start those.
Yeah,
I don't think I see an option.
I don't have the option.
Oh. Were we supposed to turn off our cameras at the poll?
When it went to me, yeah.
Okay.
Turned off. Yeah, I had my poll created and then it kind of just erased. Huh. Yeah, I'm clicking the polls button. It says no polls or quizzes created. I click create and then nothing. I created 2 of them though. So
is it embedded in the webinar for Saturday? And is it only tied to that maybe?
Oh.
I could be. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I mean, worst case, can I just ask it through the chat? If that doesn't, I mean, I'll get it to work, but.
That'll be our fail safe, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm glad we ran that. Yeah, I had them loaded on the Zoom page. I just had to activate it and it logged me out, and
All good. Usually it's because you may have built it within the webinar for next Saturday. If it doesn't come up for whatever reason, we'll just say we're not going to use the poll, and then we'll just have it, come up in Zoom chat. So that'll be our backup.
Sounds good. All right, I will play with that then ahead of next Saturday just to get that ready to go. So I'll just go back to our slide. Okay. All right, can you guys still see the slide page?
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we can just type in the chat then for now.
Yep. So, and I'll just riff on, how looks like we have a lot of experts. Looks like everyone's at least heard of Slack. So you're in the right place. All right, and quick call out. I think I might change this, and Andy, you'll have to do the clicks for me. But I don't want all 7 characteristics listed there all at once. So kind of like as I say them, we'll have them motion in
one at a time. Okay.
Yeah. So but I didn't set that up, so we'll do that. So, all right, Slack. Welcome to the third place. Third places, if you've never heard of them, are where people congregate other than work or at home. England has their pubs, France has their cafes, Australia has their coffee houses. In the US, common third places used to include country stores, post offices, barbershops, and even the extinct mega malls and soda shops. The term was first coined by urban sociologists. The term was coined by urban sociologists. I didn't put his name in. Hold on one moment. Okay. The term was first coined by urban sociologist Ray Oldenburg, who wrote about the importance of informal public gathering places. In his book, The Great Good Place, written in 1991, Oldenburg demonstrates how and why these places are essential to community and public life, arguing they are central to local democracy and community vitality. Whew. So we're going to use this concept of a third place, but adapt it to a virtual third place. So it's not work, it's not home, it's this other place that you would go to exchange ideas in a virtual setting. And the characteristics and now I'm going to discuss the 7 characteristics of a third place. So first, they are neutral, meaning that all people can come and go without penalty, such as Slack. Second, they are level, meaning that the status differences that matter so much elsewhere are not relevant here. Third, conversation is the main activity in third places, and one of the few ways to offend others is by not being present or being boring. Fourth, third places are accessible, meaning that they have long hours and are easy to get to and no reservations are required, hence Slack. Fifth, third places have regulars. Indeed, regulars define a third place, but new people are accepted as well, not automatically, but often easily. Sixth, third places are physically plain and unpretentious, just like Slack. Lastly, and perhaps most critically, the dominant mood of a third place is playful. Third places contribute to a life worth living. They root us, they give us an identity, they restore us, they support us. The bottom line is they allow us to be us and where everyone knows our name. So in a world of, in a virtual setting, we need a virtual third place. Today we'll make the presentation that Slack, specifically the features of Slackbot and workflow. Within those, we can create our virtual third place. With that, I'll turn it over to Julie for our icebreaker activity.
Thanks, Joe. So we are going to utilize Kahoot to test your knowledge about Slack before we really kind of dive deeper. So it'll be a little mix of some fun trivia and also some information about some of the items that we'll review. We're going to pull up the pin to get logged into Kahoot. You can do this 2 different ways. You can open a tab on your computer and get logged in that way. You can also use your phone and scan the QR code that's listed above and get access that way. I'm going to give everybody a minute to get logged in. We can all do it. So let me just pull it up.
Yeah, I was planning on participating, so.
Okay, cool. Go away. Okay. So you'll just type in your name. If you've never used Kahoot, once you type in your name, it'll have up there. We'll wait for everybody to get logged in to add your name. Again, I'll give them about another maybe 45 seconds or so to make sure that we have as many participants as possible. Just a little bit more about Kahoot. It's a fun trivia game you can use in a variety of different ways. You can create your own questions, build the quiz out, and then share it with other individuals. And so what you'll see is that on your phone or computer, as the questions come up, there will be different colors and shapes corresponding with the appropriate answer for the question. And you'll just tap the answer that you want to choose. The fun thing about Kahoot is it's very interactive, with all participants. The faster you answer the question, the more points that you get. And then at the end, you can see who won the quiz. So just to have a fun way to introduce us into some interesting facts about Slack. All right, here we go. First question. When did Slack launch to the public? So you can see the answers coming in. It's also timed. So we had no right answers. Slack was launched in August of 2013. So it's been a while, definitely developed. Question 2, where is the Slack headquarters located? Awesome, San Francisco, California. That one was probably pretty easy to get. And as you can see, you can kind of keep up with who's in the lead. Next, what are the benefits of Slackbot? Awesome. So these are all benefits of Slackbot. I don't know if for that one, I might give more time to kind of read over the different answers. We can kind of see, but. So this one's true or false. Slack once made a video commercial featuring animals. It cost them $1 million. That is true. And the last question is another true or false question. Workflows take care of routine and repetitive, I don't know if I'm saying that right, tasks. You can get answers approvals with way less effort. True or false? That is true, and we'll learn more about workflow as we get into more of our webinar. So as you can see, once you're done with a Kahoot game, you can see kind of where everybody placed. So again, just a fun way to kind of test your knowledge and for us to see what we know about Slack before diving into more of this webinar.
All right, so we've been talking about Slack bots and workflows, but just to kind of start from the beginning, we just got to talk about what is Slack? Well, as we can see by our audience, I'm sure most of you guys have had some kind of experience with Slack, and Joe gave a poll earlier about your guys' comfort level with Slack. And so we just kind of got to talk about what is Slack? So it's a workplace communication tool in its most simple sense. It's a platform for messaging, tools, and files. You're able to share different, just got messed up, 1 second. You're able to share different messages and pictures. 2 methods of Slack chatting are usually the group chat and direct messages. If you guys have ever used Discord, it's also pretty similar with the channels and how you're able to organize different spaces on there. And obviously, for those that are in our program, our master's program, we use Slack quite a bit. So you guys have some experience there. Now let's get into the main components. And so based off of Slack, there's going to be 4 different components when you're looking at it. So the first one is, if you look at where it says A1 marketing, whoops. Okay, so usually that's the title of the workspace. All right. There's also going to be channels, and channels are broken down with the hashtags. So these are easily able to separate teams, or if you're working with different people within that workspace, it's a nice way to organize your groups. If you look at the direct messages, it'll show you all the people that you're able to message or that you have messaged, and it'll show the notifications each time they send something. And then a good bulk of the screen is taken up by the chat area. And that's where you can actually see the conversation that's happening in each of the channels that you've selected. And for those that have used Slack, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if not, that's a quick little refresher of Slack. And so now the point of this webinar. So the 2 Slack features we're going to talk about the most are going to be Slackbot is one of them. So Slackbot, you might see it pop up every now and again when you're using Slack. Now, in its most basic sense, it's used to deliver reminders, usually to you, teammates, through group messages or through DMs. It's great for notifications to let you know when you're in a channel. If someone's in a channel they're not a part of and someone sends a file or message, lets members know when a channel has been archived. It's kind of just, it's an automated system that you can set up based on how you're running your Slack. Sends custom responses as well. So it's pretty adaptable to whatever your needs are. And then where to find it, again, just in your channels or DMs. So we're going to talk about Slackbot a little later on with our activities we'll do. And then in addition to Slackbot, we're also going to talk about Workflow Builder. And so this Workflow Builder actually allows users to automate functions. And so we'll get into that in just a little bit, but you can actually layer and create different steps depending on whatever task you need the user to perform. And so you can standardize how you collect requests, you can report outages, create welcome messages, and quite a few more tasks on the Workflow Builder. And you'll see more what I'm talking about when we actually get to the Slack app and go through the handout and the step-by-step. And so again, these are the 2 main functions of Slack we'll talk about today, Workflow and Slackbot. Before we get into the handout and the step-by-step, we're going to do another poll. And this poll is, have you ever designed a workflow on Slack before? And so just go ahead and type in the chat, either yes or no, just to indicate whether you've used workflow. And it looks like we don't really have much experience, which is great because now you guys are going to learn something today. And then Tori, I'm going to defer to you for this section.
Okay, I'm just going to show you a really quick run through of how to set up the Slackbot and the workflow. So I'll show you my screen here. So as far as the Slackbot is concerned, you'll find it here under your direct messages. You may have noticed it, but you might not have paid attention to it. So, sorry.
We just got to see your screen now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll have to wait before I start talking then.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't realize it wasn't going to pop up. All right, I'll make sure I enable that right when you start talking. All right, cool.
Hey, that it's always for all of us, it's always a good opportunity to be like, all right, can everyone see this Slack screen now? You know, give me a thumbs up, or just another active learning strategy to use in the chat.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Okay, so for the Slack bot, you will need to have administrative access, and this is available both on the free plan as well as the paid plan. So you just need to go up to your workspace name and you'll click on that, and then you'll go to administration and customize. Okay, can you, I'm afraid, sorry, I gotta get this down with the screen sharing stuff, because now it's a different screen. Okay, sorry.
That's why we do this.
Okay. Okay, so this will bring you to another screen. Can you see the customize your workspace screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so you'll need to choose the Slackbot tab. And as always, my internet is really slow. Okay, then you'll add a new response, and basically you decide that whenever somebody says, I don't know, hello, then you'll have this Slackbot respond automatically with a reply. Then you'll save it and you'll publish it. You'll save it. Okay. Okay, let's go back to the other screen. Okay, we're back in Slack, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
excellent. So as far as the workflow, that's very similar. You'll again go to the workspace name, and this time you'll go to tools and you'll click on workflow builder. You'll open that up. And by the way, all these steps are in the handout that we've sent you. So you can either follow along or you can keep them for your own reference. So here you'll just create a new workflow. You'll choose a name, and then you can follow through all these steps. You can choose how to start the workflow. So for this demonstration, we've done the emoji reaction. So you choose your emoji, you go through the steps, etc. I don't know if I need to go into much detail about it or not. I don't know if you, yeah, what do you think?
I think it might be worth going through it, because otherwise,
Okay.
like if this is the first time anyone's ever seen it,
Okay.
going through the whole steps, and then also just because this is a screen on top of Slack, like I would maximize this screen so that's all that you see, so they can
Okay.
just focus their eyes on that. But yeah, I think you should, just go through the whole thing. It's also worth noting, like you mentioned, there was the handout. Because everything's right there in the handout, and it'll save you the time from clicking all these things, is it worth just walking through the handout for the how to do it? Or would you rather do it directly in Slack? It's just an idea to throw out there.
Yeah, I guess it's more interesting to see it live, right?
I think so. Yeah, that would be
And
my preference. Yeah.
I was thinking of putting the handout in the chat when you mentioned it so people can follow along if they want to. Like as you're
Yeah.
doing it, maybe. I don't know if that would be
Okay.
too distracting or not, like whatever y'all think, but I can pop it in the chat too early.
And then can I
Okay.
make a suggestion also?
Yeah.
It kind of, I don't know if it was just you guys, but it felt kind of awkward talking about what Slack is after we'd
Yeah.
already done the poll and done, like, you know what I mean? Like, it felt
Yeah.
like it was a good slide if it was towards the beginning. Like, I feel like my slides would have worked better before we did any of the other activities, like before Joe or
Yeah.
Julie. So maybe we tweak the time, like the order of that, and we do the Kahoot right after I get finished done talking. And then after the Kahoot, then Tori would start talking about what she's doing right now.
Okay.
It just felt weird talking about what Slack is, and just the timing of it felt weird. Like we had already talked
Yeah,
about the
I agree.
specifics, and then we went back to what Slack is. So
Yeah, let's I'll move the slide right now. I think we go directly into Slack. Or no, sorry,
Mhm.
you said Kahoot and then your explanation, right?
so it would go the intro slide, agenda, learning objectives, then start talking about, so what we want to do, big picture, your thing, Joe,
I,
or
no, I think it's hard to connect to that big picture unless you know what Slack is.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
feel like,
yeah.
I agree.
and I
Yeah.
even feel like even though the Kahoot, well, no, the icebreaker can stay. So, but the we have the poll, which is the active learning strategy, and then describing what Slack is, and then I feel like the Kahoot game afterwards might be
Yeah.
nice.
I think so.
And
And an icebreaker doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be at the beginning. I think it can
right.
kind of break that up a little bit.
So if we
So
move that down below, sorry, go ahead.
so what Slack is, then Kahoot, then my other two slides about workflow and Slackbot, and then we go to Tori, or I'm sorry, then we go to Joe's big picture, and then Tori. I'm just trying to think like how we want to switch those around.
Yeah. So poll of who's familiar with Slack, which I'll facilitate, and then transition to you, Andy, for what is Slack, main components of Slack, Slackbot, and workflow builder. And then we can do that kind of like, okay, let's just test your knowledge on some of this stuff that we just looked at and move into Kahoot. Then big picture. So now we're taking Slack and we're tying it into this like third place concept. And then right before we transition to Tori to set up the workflow, we have another poll that just asks if you ever design the workflow, which is probably going to be a no, which is a perfect transition into the setup now. And then Tori, I think what you're doing is the ideal one, and Julie's idea to also add the handout at that time if people want to reference that as well, because otherwise people might be trying to take screenshots or notes. And it'll be nice to know that it's there. So.
And then Joe, since we're switching the order, do you want to be the third one out of us that goes and you read the learning objectives, and then
Yep.
I just read the first poll and then go straight into what Slack is and all that?
Yep.
Cool.
And then I was thinking, as the demonstration, I'll explain like what we're doing, which is a game and not the typical workflow. So I'll come up with something I wasn't prepared for.
Oh no, it's all
for this
good. I
one today,
mean,
so.
I know you thought I was gonna have the Slack on here, but I feel like if I'm being honest, like I'm not as knowledgeable and comfortable talking about the workflow builder as you, Tori. So I feel like your explanation is gonna be a lot more natural and come across a lot better. So that's just how I
Okay.
feel though with that.
Yeah, I'll just have to go through it on my own to, figure out exactly what to type in and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's why we're doing this trial run, right?
Yeah. Good thing.
Right before you jump back into it, Tori, so you're right now we're still in the absorb component, right, of how to set up Slack bots and workflows, and you're demoing that. And then we'll move into the do activity, and you're also going to be leading that one.
Yes.
Okay.
So I guess okay, you guys obviously can participate in the,
Yeah.
responding.
Because there's not a slide for it, nor does there need to be. I just want to confirm that before we picked up again.
And the do activity is the Jamboard.
No, it's the actual game in Slack.
Okay, just want to make sure, just so we know. So you'll still be sharing your screen then. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. All right, I wanted to time this part exactly because I added a couple more things. I want to see how long it takes. Okay, so how can we use the Slack bot and the workflow builder in a creative way? We've come up with an idea to combine the two into an activity for teams. So what you could do, for example, if you have multiple departments or teams, you could start a thread for each one. And whoever is in our class that's watching this can participate directly in Slack, and everyone else can just send their answers to the Zoom chat. So I've started here. Welcome team one. When you're ready to begin, react to this message with the face with the cowboy hat emoji. And so people will start to react, and that will set off the automatic workflow.
Let's do that. I'm sorry.
Oh, it has to be a reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I was like,
appreciate it.
Okay, I'll show you what's happening here. So we've got this thread going. The first question is Family Feud. So we've set this up. We interviewed everyone in our department. We asked everyone in the department what foods they dislike. Guess what the top 3 answers are by typing your guesses in the thread. You'll only get a response if your answer is correct. So everyone, looks like we got a correct answer here. Great job, you guessed oh, sorry, yeah.
So this is the do part, right? You did,
Yes.
well, you kind of like, we just kind of like touched base a little bit on the demo part. Before you move into the do, set it up where, like, mention if you're part of this class, you have access to this Slack bot practice under our, crafting synchronous learning sessions channel. Like, point people to that, and then say, if you aren't in our class, that's great too. You can respond to all these questions using Zoom chat. And you may even want to call out, or if you don't want to participate, you don't have to, you can just watch. So we're being inclusive of everyone. So sorry, I know you're getting into a flow, but we got to call that out, because otherwise we're not going to get any participation.
Okay, I'll have to make sure to add that. Okay. So we have someone guessed the 3rd most popular answer, which was mushrooms. So here we've programmed the Slack bot to respond automatically to mushrooms. Okay, you can keep guessing to get points for the 1st and the 2nd most popular answers. You can continue typing your answers in the Zoom chat, and we'll add them here in Slack. Good job. Congratulations, you guessed number 1 answer for 30 points. Okay, so in order to start the next part, you should react to this message with the fish emoji to start the next question. So here we have another similar question. We asked people in our department what their personal goals for 2022 were. Guess what the top 3 answers were. You can type your answers in the close. This is, of course, this can be customized exactly to, your team, your department. You can interview them beforehand. You could ask questions about your office, about your company, obviously, anything that's relevant. I'll give you a hint. Think about what typical New Year's resolutions are. What else do I want to say? Okay, obviously you can decide which types of questions you want to use with your team. You could put in trivia questions. I may have missed something here. Sorry. Oh,
Tori, you may even want to call out here that, you know, it's easiest to build these with with the simplest response, right? Like 1 word or 2 word responses. And if you
Oh.
have to type in like a phrase or something, it just makes it more challenging. So
Okay. Okay, so we've had a winner, and now to set off the next question, you have again to react to the Slack bot. Here we've set up a Wordle style game, which if you've never played Wordle before, this will, oh, I wonder if I should just, maybe we can put the link in the Zoom chat. I'll do that. Okay, so here's the link to the Wordle game in the Zoom chat.
And I can do that day of. I'll
Okay, yeah.
link in, yeah.
You can set up as well a button to give you the instructions for the game. And while everyone's guessing their Wordle, you can continue typing your answers in the chat. Yeah, wait.
you just have to use, like, you know, again, to reiterate, if you have access to this Slack channel, you can type the response directly into the Slack thread. And if you don't, once you've, you know, figure out the answer, respond to it in the Zoom chat.
I'm thinking, Joe, maybe you should do this part.
Yeah, I can do this part. We'll have another run through next week.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I always run out of stuff to say, and then I'm like,
I still think you should do the demo of how to
Okay,
set it
yeah.
up, and then
I'll do
I
that.
can do the do part, as I, you know, mentioned before.
Oops. Okay, in our final game, we've used a catchphrase where you have to guess the phrase that's associated with the picture. And this is, you can, no, let's see, how would I say that? Anyway, okay. Just type the phrase in the chat. I actually added another one just in case. So we're at, okay, this is 9 minutes now for this part. I think we put 15 on there. So it'll take longer anyway.
Yeah, we're typing in the answers because we know it. So
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, that's good. Okay, yeah, I think that works. If there's, there's basically 5 questions total. Any idea on this one?
can you scroll up a little bit? Does it say, oh, planning?
I don't think that's right. I was just guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you scroll up a little bit, because you can't see the instructions?
Oh, it's the same as the previous one, the catchphrase.
Gotcha. Tori, would you still be able to navigate the screen for me, and I'll just talk through it all? So
Yeah.
you'll do the demo and then the do, and I'll just MC it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then let's see, I guess whoever was that Julie that was monitoring the Zoom chat and then putting the answers in
Yeah.
into Slack. Okay. That'll help too.
So yeah, I mean, we'll just see how quickly they're coming in, but I'll go as fast as I can. I have 2 screens, so it shouldn't be too difficult.
Okay. So
I have no idea.
I know, I'm like,
this one was
ah,
change plans.
Mm.
Okay. Now I'm passing it over to Joe.
All right, so that concludes our interactive portion of using video on. Okay, so that concludes our interactive portion of using Slackbot and Workflow Builder to have some fun and create a third place within our virtual environment. Now we'd like to hear from you on how you envision using Slackbot and Workflow in your place of work, be that K through 12, higher education, in a corporate setting, or in your personal life.
Okay. Yes, sorry.
So we're going to collect your notes in a tool called Google Jamboard. I'm going to provide the link in just a moment to the Zoom chat. When you open that link, it'll open into a Google Jamboard onto a screen, just like the one that we're looking at right now. And you'll use the sticky note icon, which is the 4th icon down on the left-hand side, to click and add a sticky directly onto the screen. Depending on where your idea falls, put it under the appropriate section there. And there's multiple pages that you can use in Jamboard in case we run out of space. Now, it's hard to think of something immediately after doing an activity. So I want to ask us all to take just 1 minute to reflect on what we just did, what we just saw, and think through how we could potentially use this in our place of work. So Andy, it's probably a good time. You turn on a little mood music, and you'd actually want to share at this point the Jamboard directly.
yeah, and I put the link in the chat. I guess I'll do that too, just to make sure everybody can get to it.
Yeah, definitely add it into the Zoom chat because that's where
Mhm.
I'll direct people to.
Yeah,
then,
and I'll try to do it as soon as you start talking.
Yeah, and then Andy, have it on the slide for a little bit just so I can direct people on
Yeah,
what to
for
do,
sure.
and then you'll share this. This is perfect. So so yeah, I want to give people some time because if you ask people to do something they don't have anything, they won't do anything. So giving them just some time to think about it and then allow some thoughts to come through. It would also be really helpful if all of you could place at least one note on there, just in case no one else does, just to have something to stick through, talk through. Well, maybe not Andy then, because then we'll be able to see him.
Yeah. You can see.
Or you can always, if you have another screen, you can always open it in another screen and add it. So, all right. So yeah, so, as you're adding these sticky notes, go ahead and drag them into the appropriate category. And if you use those arrows up at the top, that says 1 of 3 right now, there's actually a couple more screens that you can use to drop notes. So let's see what's coming in so far. So how will you unleash the use of Slack in your world? So for K through 12, maybe some pre-learning. So maybe a flipped classroom concept where we're presenting some content prior to getting into that classroom, so we can make that fun and creative using Slackbot and Workflow. In the higher education space, a review of materials, or just a fun way to collaborate with colleagues. The degree that I'm working on right now is a virtual degree. We're working on virtual teams, and I don't always get an opportunity to see the people that I work with. So finding a way to collaborate with them via Slack is a great use. Using it for training purposes in the corporate world, setting up workflows and leveraging Slackbot to create a fun, interactive way to train people. It's much better than that classroom setting, just sitting there and listening to lectures. And then trivia. Yeah, we just played some trivia games now. So creating some trivia games to share with your friends in your personal life. So great. All right, so we've talked about Slackbot and Workflow Builder. We've demoed it. We saw it in action. We thought about how we can use this in our own lives. So let's now transition over to Julie to bring us home.
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, so we'll just kind of have a little summary of what we talked about. So, initially talking about a third place and how Slack can be utilized at that, just, another opportunity for community. Slack does provide us many ways to connect and grow together as a team, just to engage with one another. And then Slackbot and Workflow specifically, how those can really help enhance the way you engage with one another. I could definitely kind of add more to those. I just kind of put it together earlier. So we do have an evaluation. We do really appreciate the time that you took to be with us this morning and, really connect and hear more about Slackbot, Workflow, Slack in general. I attached a evaluation form in the chat. If you wouldn't mind just taking a few minutes to do that for us, we'd really appreciate your feedback. Hear, what you liked about the webinar, maybe kind of what we could have improved upon. So definitely, if you have time, go ahead and open that up. And then we also have a handout available. I shared that earlier. I'll go ahead and share it again. I'll put the link in there again whenever I do have that. So, you can utilize that resource as well. So again, thank you for joining us. And we're going to have some time now for some questions before our hour is up. Do we want to all come on screen at this point or just kind of, I don't know.
On that previous screen, I would just suggest having the evaluation and handout. Like you don't need them there. You can just put them because no one can actually click on this.
Yeah.
So you can just put those two things in the notes. That way, you have to add the links over.
Yeah.
And then you can create some separation in the bullet points there.
Yeah, and the evaluation link is there. And then, like I said, whenever I get the handout link, I'll add it there too.
And then when we get to this next slide, the Q&A slide, it might make sense. So you'll want to announce, Julie, that everyone's phones are on mute, right? And since we set it up that way, I don't think they can come off of mute. So they'll need to direct their question, which is fine.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to finish up the slide and just ask, like, if you want everybody to just put their questions in the chat, I can add that to the slide. Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll make the slide look better. I just kind of popped it in there before we started so we could have something, but yeah, I'll add put your questions in the chat or whatever.
Yeah. I also think depending on time, depending on what's coming through the chat, for us to just throw out a question to start things up. So, I would say, I don't know, we would probably want to ask a question. Like, I want to direct a question to Tori, like, Tori, you showed us how to set this up. What motivated you to look into Workflow or Slackbot, something to that effect. So we can noodle on that over the course of the next week, but we should probably have some canned questions, responses in the event we don't hear anything through the Zoom chat.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to transition. And I can read off, since I'm moderating the chat, I can read off the questions and then whoever wants to answer them, just to kind of make it to where we're not all trying to do whatever, but I can do that if you think that would work as they come in.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what somebody asked me in my other webinar, but anyway, I'll try to come up with a question.
And then depending on how much time we have left, I'll kind of I can make it okay, we'll take one more question or whatever, but then just say if you have any additional questions, like reach out to us. We're happy to help, I guess.
Yeah, and that's where you'll provide our email addresses
Mhm.
in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have them all ready to go and just put them in there. Maybe we can add them to the handout too.
Oh, yeah.
So that way,
Yeah, that's
like
a
our
good idea.
contact is there.
Yeah.
Cool.
So maybe we can stop the recording now.
And then is that our last slide as of right now?
Yep.
And then to close it, I guess I could just say, or unless anybody else wants to chime in. Thank you guys for joining in our webinar today. We know it's a Saturday, so thank you for taking some time out of your day to learn more about Slack. We hope you have a great day.